Welcome, my political friends of the interwebs. Over the last few days, I've been bombarded with questions about when I was going to come out with my my deep intellectual analysis of the Supreme Court's ruling on Obamacare. And you know, I will. I want to take some time to really digest it. You know, and plus, I will admit that it's somewhat depressing. I mean, when you see Chief Justice Roberts set the Constitution on fire, it's a hard pill to swallow. So I will, though. Give me another week or so, and I'll come out with something. At least give you an idea of what I think about the whole thing as a whole, which, I mean, you pretty much can figure out anyway. But anyway, yeah, I've been working on a couple of different projects. I have a lot going on right now, but in the course of doing some research, I ran across this Mail Online article. It's called "Detroit to be Hit by Flesh and Brain-Eating Zombie Apocalypse, but only if live-action terror theme park plan is pushed through." Oh my God. Okay, now listen. All right. I had told a bunch of people, not even that long ago, that I was going to do a video on unions. You know, but I wanted to do a real thorough video on you know, why I think unions are this and blah 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 blah. The reason I haven't done that video yet is because I want to, when I make that video, I actually want to go up to the city of Detroit, which is about an hour north of me. I want to go up to the city of Detroit to, you know, to take some footage of what a third world nation looks like. And the plan is to make the connection between, you know, that urban decay, and that's actually calling it urban decay is actually kind of a mild way to describe what literally looks like Katrina without the water. You know, but yeah, I mean, I want to kind of combine those, because I think what I kind of want to do is a little mini documentary. It's really it, which is almost a bittersweet thing for me, because you know, a lot of you may not know who I'm talking about, but we had a YouTuber pass away, you know, a little over a year ago. His name was well, we called him Half-Cocked. I always called him Jason, but it doesn't really matter. He lived up in Detroit, and you know, there were a lot of times we would talk on the phone, and we had planned on getting together in Detroit because, you know, we were going to do kind of a collaboration on Detroit and how it's pretty much, you know, a shithole compared to what it used to be. And but unfortunately, Jason passed away, and that never happened. We never got to get together to do that. But I do want to go up to Detroit, and I do want to put this piece together and make kind of a mini documentary dealing with what I consider the aftermath of the unions and the Democratic Party, liberalism, combining to create a perfect storm of destruction. So, having said that, that's one of my videos that you will have to look forward to. It's always, you know, it's funny because Detroit is only an hour away. It would be nothing to jump in my car. I used to work out of Detroit, so, you know, I went up to Detroit all the time. The problem for me is I have to be in the right state of mind to go up to Detroit, because when you go up to Detroit, it kind of looks like that. When you go up to Detroit, it's depressing. I can remember I used to work out of the Amtrak station in Detroit, and I would go to Chicago, so I would drive up there, park my car in the Amtrak parking lot, jump on the train, and take the train to Chicago, spend the night, and come back. And every time I would be coming back from Chicago, as we were getting closer to the Detroit station, I would look out the window waiting to see if I could get a look to see if my car was still there. And, you know, and one time, now this is back when I was driving my Mitsubishi 3000 GTSL as a daily driver, and which was a great car to take up to Detroit. I mean, well, not to Detroit, but it's a great car to get up on the highway and really get the RPMs up. A lot of fun to drive that car, and I was much younger back then, so I really enjoyed that aspect of it. Well, I didn't enjoy the aspect of leaving that car in downtown Detroit overnight, but I remember one time we were coming back, and the lights, the 3000 GT has pop-up headlights, and the lights were popped up, and I'm like, oh shit. because I knew that the alarm had went off. Because when the alarm would go off, the lights would pop up and they would blink, and the horn would beep over and over and over. That was the alarm system. So I had known that, yeah, my alarm system had went off. And so I couldn't wait to get the passengers off the train and get over to my car and see what the damage was. And sure enough, I get over there, and the driver's side window was smashed in. And, you know, they didn't, other than smashing in the window and taking, you know, some change out of my little change compartment, and I think they took some, I don't know, some other stupid cheesy shit that really wasn't worth anything. I never made a habit of leaving anything valuable in the car, for obvious reasons, you know. But anyway, the headlights had popped up, the horn had went off, and it didn't have an automatic shut off after so many minutes. So basically, that alarm system went off until the battery died. Well, the way this train route worked was that we were the last train coming in, and once the outgoing passengers left, you know, the train station closed, and it was in the evening. And the last place you want to be is in downtown Detroit in the evening. Trust me. So I had AAA, and I had taken my my conductor's jacket off, and I put it over the seat. I tried to brush as much of the glass out. That safety glass shatters into a million gazillion pieces, and I put my my jacket over the remaining glass that was on the seat, and I sat down. I called the AAA, and it was so funny because I told him, I said, well, you know, I'm in downtown Detroit, and I gave him the address. I said, I'm going to need to have somebody come give me a jump, and it was the woman that was on the phone for AAA goes, are you in a safe place? And I said, lady, didn't you just hear me say I was in downtown Detroit? So, you know, here's the funny thing that I learned about AAA. Okay, when they ask you if you're in a safe place, they don't really give a shit. It's just a question they ask. You know, I mean, it's just a question they ask, because it still took an hour and 40 minutes for them to have a tow truck show up. I suppose because, one, jumping a car probably doesn't pay anything, and two, nobody wanted to go to downtown Detroit after dark, because it was just about dark at that point, and it would be dark by the time the tow truck actually got there to jump me. Detroit's just it's a shithole. It is a shithole. You know, when you're in downtown Detroit in the middle of the day, you know, I used to live in Chicago. And in Chicago, downtown Chicago in the middle of the day is bustling. People everywhere. It's in a lot of ways, it's like a small New York. And, you know, there are a lot of people who live downtown Chicago, just like in New York and, you know, in Manhattan. But Detroit isn't like that. It used to be years and years and years ago, before the UAW and the Democrats took the place apart piece by piece. But the only thing missing in downtown Detroit at, let's say, I don't know, 1 o'clock in the afternoon is tumbleweeds. I'm not kidding you. That is the only thing missing in downtown Detroit at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Because if you had kind of like a, you know, a little Western music and a tumbleweed rolling down the middle of the road, it would be perfect. So anyway, Detroit, every time I used to go there, I can remember, once you get off the highway and you start heading into downtown Detroit, it's just blight. It's just disturbingly depressing. Depressing. I got a million stories I could tell about that. So anyway, when I ran across this article that they want to take a big swath of the dilapidated part of Detroit, parts of Detroit, which is probably 95% of the city, they want to turn it into a theme park, a zombie theme park. You know, I laughed out loud. I literally laughed out loud when I seen that. I thought to myself, are these people out of their minds? A couple of things come to mind. One, we're talking about a dangerous place. Not just from the population, but, you know, truly that is the case. But the buildings that they're talking about, the streets, yeah, it does look like a post-apocalyptic scenery, no doubt about it. You couldn't stage a set like this. I mean, it's too amazing. Problem is that most of that shit is falling apart, literally. Falling apart. We're talking about buildings that haven't had any kind of maintenance on them in 25, 30 years. You know, it's dangerous. You know, I almost got killed. We used to have to, when Amtrak used to do this, and we used to jokingly call it Am Freight, where we would have these fruit cars, these box cars on the back of our consist, where we were moving fruit. which, you know, long story, stupid plan. They were trying to make some revenue is what they were trying to do. But anyway, we used to have to shove, once we get to Detroit and let off our passengers, we would have to shove the train back into the old train station. And the old train station, which is a beautiful Gothic building. I mean, back in the day when troops were being shipped out for World War II and stuff, I mean, I can just envision what an awesome place this was. But it's dangerous. I mean, I had a platform literally collapse underneath me. You know, so when they're talking about building the zombie theme park in the city of Detroit, I think to myself, I don't think this is a well thought out plan. I really don't. Well, one of the things that's been going on in Detroit for the last few years is this urban farming. This where they've tore out, you know, buildings, opened up whole swaths, and they've literally created a green space where they're farming now. Considering the decades and decades of toxic chemicals, I don't know that I'd be eating into the produce, but you know, I guess it is what it is. I mean, literally, Mother Earth. Listen, I sound like a Greenpeace nut. The Earth is reclaiming a lot of Detroit. You'll see in some of the offshoot neighborhoods, some of the neighborhoods in Detroit, you'll see literally trees growing up in the middle of the street, where there had been a crack in the street and a seed had, you know, managed to find its way there, and over time, you know, it just sprouted, and you know, now you've got a tree that's, you know, 6 foot tall. You know, I mean, you have to see it to believe it. I mean, I can talk to you all day long about what Detroit. Now I'm talking Detroit proper. Okay, do not be confused about that, because there are suburbs of Detroit that aren't controlled by the Democrats, that have Ferrari dealerships. You know, there are suburbs of Detroit that are basically cities of their own. They're amazing. You know, they're absolutely amazing. But when you look at the mayor of those little burbs, you're not going to see one that has a D after his name. You know, it's quite a contrast, actually. I don't even know, you know, like I said, you got to see it to believe it. I will do a video, though, explaining my theory as to how Detroit got the way it is. You know, I went to, I know I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. It bears repeating. So I went to New Orleans shortly after Katrina. And one of the things that I wanted to see was the lower Ninth Ward, because the lower Ninth Ward's all you ever heard about on the news and how devastated it was. And it was funny because I'm driving into the lower Ninth Ward, and I'm like, well, shit, this looks like Detroit. It looked like Detroit. Just whole neighborhoods were just abandoned. You know, if you went through neighborhoods in Detroit and spray painted on the walls of the houses, you know, the way they did after Katrina on those houses in New Orleans, it would look just like Detroit. You know, and ever since that trip, I described Detroit as, you know, Katrina without the water. Literally, you know, Katrina without the water. It's amazing. I need to get in the right state of mind, go up there and make this video, because I have a couple of union guys that follow me, and I know they're not going to want to see this, but you know, when you take the UAW, and I'm just using UAW as an example, but big unions in general, you take them and you put them in bed with the Democrats, and then you put them in charge of a city, and make no mistakes, the UAW called the shots in Detroit. Because the UAW funded the Democrats that were running for public office. So, I mean, believe you me, when any of the union bosses wanted to go into the mayor's office, they didn't have to make an appointment. They just walked in. You know, Mr. Mayor, here we are, and this is what the agenda is. We're going to need your signature and stamp right here. That's right. You know, yeah, and, you know, and unions, a lot of times they're like parasites. Once they grab onto you, they're like leeches. Once they get their teeth sucked into you, they just start sucking the blood. And they will do that until the host dies, which is Detroit. Detroit is the host, and it is now a rotten, stinking corpse, which apparently will make a really great theme park for zombie enthusiasts. All right, listen, everybody, that's all I got for you. Be careful of the zombie apocalypse. If you're going to Detroit, make sure you get your rabies shots. In fact, I recommend you just don't go to Detroit. Let me go to Detroit for you. Let me take the chances. I'm well armed. All right, everybody, take care. See ya!